I mean, this story is absolutely horrifying, what has happened with these kids. But unfortunately, it's not surprising. And one of the reasons that it's not surprising is because of how much kids are exploited in the immigration system itself. It's very easy to look at these corporations that are exploiting the labor of these children and say, you know, it's corporate accountability that we need. We need to blame the corporations. Yeah. That's true. That's legitimate. But it's the entire system that really fails these children. It's from, you know, HHS and the Office of Refugee Resettlement failing to vet sponsors for these children. But it's also the fact that these children don't have lawyers. They're going through a deportation system without anyone defending them. So it's no surprise that children who walk into immigration courtrooms and, you know, have no one there to fight for them and see their rights being trampled on wouldn't realize in another context, in the context of labor, they wouldn't know that there were protections available to them. So unfortunately, it's really systemic that we see these kids having their rights violated in so many different ways that, you know, it's not a surprise that this is where we ended up.
I want to read you something from the Washington Post. Packers Sanitation Services has faced no criminal charges, despite evidence that it failed to take basic steps to verify the age of its young employees. Last month, it quickly resolved the case by paying a $1.5 million civil fine. The families of the teen workers, by contrast, has been exposed to child abuse charges and potential deportation. I almost want to zoom out away from the systems and talk about the way that we as a culture and as a society talk about this, which is we tend to put all culpability on the back of the person who has made the decision to leave their home country to come into the United States. But then I get your point about corporate accountability only being a piece of this, how the U.S. government and a broken system is also to be held to account. It also says something to me about the fact that they're not, right? That they pay a fine and they walk away, and in the eyes of society, they're not the one who is seen as being culpable. I mean, that's the part that's absolutely bonkers.
Right. And also the elected officials are not being held culpable for the policy decisions that put children at risk in the first place. Yeah. You know, whether that's the choice not to provide lawyers for these children or the creation of policies like Title 42 and the forced use of the CBP One app, or, you know, most ominously, the upcoming asylum ban that the Biden administration has proposed. All of these policies coming from elected officials put these children in more vulnerable situations that then lead directly to, you know, these horrific labor violations. It's also the fact that these children are entering an asylum protection system that doesn't give people work permits when they arrive in the United States to seek protection. When they legally come here to seek asylum, they're not able to get work permits for sometimes years. That fact means that when they go to workplaces, they are easily exploited. And so, yes, there's a lack of accountability from the corporations, but really the elected officials who continue to create policies that put children in danger. That's something that really needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah, Lindsay, I only have about 30 seconds left, but I'm wondering if you could just talk us through the legal resources that these kids and their families have in situations like this.
So, you know, unfortunately, there is really a lack of safety net for immigrant families. And I think that's what we're seeing here. But that's why it's so important to create a universal representation program for children nationally, so that in these small towns, they have lawyers that will go fight for them in immigration court, but who can also help to protect their rights more, you know, all of their rights, their labor rights, their rights to go to school, their right to be free and safe.